Welcome dear students. I welcome you to this next lecture of subject Fundamental of Systematics. In the previous lecture, we have studied the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature and its principles. In today's lecture, we are going to deal with zoological nomenclature. So in this first part, we are going to concentrate on to understand what is mean by nomenclature. We'll have a look at history of the nomenclature, then why there is need of nomenclature, and finally we'll deal with several different kinds of name used in taxonomy. So let's begin to understand what is meant by nomenclature. So must have come across these words several times. So we'll understand what is meant by nomenclature. So nomenclature is basically a system of naming. A system of naming living organism with a distinctive name so that each organism will have a unique name which is different from the other organism. So if you see the literal meaning of this word nomenclature, it is derived from a Latin word where nomen means name and clator means to call. So literally nomenclature means to call by name. Now if we see this nomenclature as language of zoology, then all the rules of the nomenclature become the grammar of it. So it is merely naming all the levels of taxa for easy communication among the scientists, especially the biologists. Now once a name is given to a taxon, it becomes the label. So it becomes like a label with all the information, so which can be retrieved at any later point for the easy reference. Thus, all these rules concerning the names and naming of the taxa is collectively known as Code of Nomenclature. Since all zoologists work with animals and use their names, it is essential that the general principles of the zoological nomenclature must be familiar with all the zoologists. Okay, so we have understood what is meant by nomenclature, its literal meaning as well as its origin. Now if we see the history of nomenclature, we know that nomenclature is very important when we study taxonomy so as to classify the organisms. So generally for any organism there are two names which are given. One is the common name, or it is also referred to as vernacular name, and there is another name which is known as scientific name. Now the scientific name can be binomial or it can be trinomial. So what are these systems we'll study in the next lecture. Now these rules of nomenclature, how to name an organism, were first framed by the first pioneer, that is Carolus Linnaeus. Linnaeus has developed what is known to the taxonomy, the binomial system of nomenclature. So binomial means every organism were given a two name. One is the generic name and one is the specific name or the species name. So, however, Linnaeus has proposed this binomial system of nomenclature, but it was not adequate and there were some lacunae. So as to overcome this, there was a need to develop a internationally accepted rules and regulations. Therefore, in 1843, British Association for the Advancement of Science has appointed a committee to formulate the set of rules for this zoological nomenclature. And as a result of the work which was done by this committee, there was a code which was defined, that is known as Stickland Code. This name comes from the one of the committee member of this Thus, for the first time, a reliable code of zoological nomenclature came into existence. After that, in 1889, the first Zoological Congress, which was established, adopted a code proposed by Raphael Blanchard, and this was the beginning of the present international rules. In 1961, at the 5th International Zoological Congress, the International Rules of Zoological Nomenclature were first formed and adopted, and this is what is referred to as International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. Now, to this first draft, there were many modifications and amendments were done in the subsequent years by the International Congress of Zoology. So, it becomes imperative for all the taxonomists to possess a copy of this International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, abbreviated as ICZN. Okay, so it develops it in the form of book, and that book is a reference for any taxonomist when he is doing this nomenclature or taxonomy related work. Now, the next question that comes into our mind, why there is need of nomenclature? First of all, the organisms which are known have many different names in different countries and different languages. Okay, so there occurs the ambiguity. Also, sometimes same organism may be popular by different names in different parts of the world. So same organism having different names in different parts of the world. Now, the earlier solution for such problem was assigning the scientific name so that there occurs a uniformity and same organism can be studied easily throughout the world. So since there was a great problem of misunderstanding and ambiguity in the names of organisms in different parts, same organism was known by different names, there was need of this nomenclature system. Okay, now we move on to the last part of today's discussion. What are the several different kinds of names which are used in taxonomy? So there can be descriptive names, could be ecological names, geographical names, patronymic names, names without any meaning, undesirable name, and other kinds of names. So let's study each one by one. So first we will see what is meant by descriptive names. So descriptive names, as the name suggests, it is based on any character of that particular taxon. A name can be assigned or given. So any particular character is taken into consideration while giving the name to that particular organism. For example, the species name Gigantica or Giganticus indicates the giant size. Globose, the name Globose indicates the round shape or globe-like shape. Whereas Alba, Albus or Album indicates the white color. Now all these are the based on the gender, feminine, masculine or the neutral gender. This could be called as Alba, Albus and Album. Okay, so this is all about the arborico, means which are living on the trees or tree dwellers. Sometimes another ecological characters can be taken into consideration, like according to the manner of living. For example, those living in groups may be referred as aggregators. Those which are parasitic in habit, the name can be given as parasitus. So such names given on the ecological habits or the habitat. Now we move to the third type of naming, that is geographical names. So here the name is very much suggestive that names here are based on the locality where the type specimen was collected or the general distribution of species is present in particular geographical area, then these names are called as geographical names. So let's take one example. If a particular species is found in Kerala, it can be referred to as Keralensis or Keralicus. So such geographical names are very useful. Even the several species of the genus are from same locality, because since the geographical name clearly indicates the original locality or region of the species or the general distribution of that particular species. So for naming an organism, such kind of name are given the first preference. Okay, so preference is given to the geographical name. If such geographical names are not preoccupied, that means not used before, then they can be used for naming a new species. Now we come to the next type, that is patronymic names. So patronymic, the name means naming the any species based on the name of any person or personality. So normally such names are given in honor of some eminent person who has worked in the particular field, or on the name of some significant contributor who has worked. Sometimes even the person who has collected the specimen to which the name to be given for the first time, his name can be given, or sometimes person who has helped the researcher considerably in a large manner for the research work, his name can also be assigned. However, whenever you are giving such patronymic names, there should be restraint. That means such names should not be given so commonly. Now, whenever you are assigning these patronymic name, the person's name, usually the surname is taken, and now to this name it's converted in the form of Latin noun, and to this a genitive ending is added. So let's see an example what is mean by this. So generally endings like I in case of masculine name. So if the name is of a male person, then you have to add the ending in the form of letter I. For example, Nathani from the name Nathan, Cherini from the name Cherian, Rahimani from the name Rahiman, etc. Okay, so the surname of a person, and to that surname you are adding the ending it with the letter I if it is the name of a male. If it is the name of a female, in that case it ends with letter E. For example, if a species is first time discovered by Sita, it will end with, or the name will be given as Site. If the name is given by a scientist whose name is Sarah, it will end with E. And there could be given many examples, but you have to remember when it is a male name it should end with I, and if it is a feminine name it should end with letter E. Okay. Now there could be another next category, that is names without any meaning. So sometimes Latinized names based on arbitrary combination of letters with or without any original meaning can be used. So that means there is no meaning to that particular word. For example, Fantana, Gentana, Calona, these are the general Latinized words which do not have any meaning, but these can be used for naming the new species. Now, in order to avoid any undesirable implications of, or in case of situation where already the geographical area name or the descriptive names are already occupied, that means other species are given such names. Okay, in such cases you may have to go for such names which are having without meaning. So I'll give you an example. Suppose I have discovered a new species. For the time being I have called it as A species and I want to name it. So first I will try to name it based on the geographical area, but if previously the geographical area name is given to the previously discovered species, I cannot give this name. Then next I will try to give it the descriptive name, some character of that particular species. But if such names are also occupied or previously given to another species, I cannot use descriptive names. So under such circumstances, I have to go for names without any meaning. So rarely such names are given without meaning. Okay, now the next category is known as undesirable names. So you always have to avoid such names where very long names are there, which are inconvenient to use. So such long names should be avoided. Similarly, specious names or those who are likely cause some religious or personal offense. Suppose you use some religious words or some personal names are used, those should not be used, or such names should be always avoided that can create some religious rift. Then comes the last category, other kinds of names. Sometimes other kinds of names are given when none of the name is available to give to that particular new species. So for names based on the host organism, so let's take example, name like Opicini from Opicina. So suppose there is one insect which is living on this plant, then the name can be given as Opicini. Then suppose an insect is living on rose plant, then from Rosa the name can be given as Rosie. And suppose an insect is living on Lantana plant, then name can be given as Lantana. Sometimes even mythological names can be assigned. For example, Arjuni from the name Arjuna. Sometimes even words from other languages such as Latinized Sanskrit words can also be used. So the Sanskrit word Anupama meaning unique can also sometimes be used for naming the organisms or have been used in the previously. Okay, so these are the different types of name which can be assigned for the nomenclature. Now in this next slide we will see difference between monotypic and polytypic species. So when a species has several subspecies, it is referred to as polytypic species. And on the other hand, when a species contains no subspecies, then it is referred to as monotypic. So if a species has no subspecies, it is monotypic, and if it has several subspecies, we refer to as polytypic species. Now let's understand what is meant by subspecies. So subspecies is a geographical or ecological population of a species which differ taxonomically from such population of the species. That means they have some characters which are not present in that particular species, or some additional characters are present, but it is more or the less quite similar to that species. So subspecies is population of several biotypes which can be referred to as races of a particular species. So in animal taxonomy, subspecies is only taxonomic category that is considered as valid and recognized. And when you add subspecies name to the name of that particular organism, you get a three-word name. That three-word name is also called as trinomial category or trinomial name. So we'll be going to study what is trinomial nomenclature. So in this you get first the genus name, then you write the species name, and third you write the subspecies name after the species name. So for example, Brachymeria podagrica podagrica. So here Brachymeria is the name of genus, Podagrica is the name of species, and Podagrica is name of subspecies. So if we revise, we today studied what is the concept of nomenclature, what is meant by nomenclature, the origin of nomenclature, history of nomenclature, how this nomenclature has developed over the period of time. So it was first proposed by Carolus Linnaeus in his book of Systema Naturae in the form of binomial nomenclature, and later on how it got converted into international code in the form of International Code of Zoological Nomenclature in the year 1961. Then we saw what are the different naming systems, and in that we have seen descriptive names, geographical names, even the names which can have no meaning. Sometimes the name can be given certain characters which are present, and there could be some name which needs to be avoided. There could be names without any meaning. There are some undesirable names. And finally, we saw what are other kinds of name. If no name is available to give to that particular organism, then even other kinds of name are useful. And finally, we look at what is the difference between monotypic and polytypic species. So monotypic species do not have subspecies, whereas the polytypic species have more than two subspecies. So with this we conclude today's lecture. Thank you for your patience here.